Brendan Sorsby news is back here on Colts Talk, presented by Prize Picks. Billy Beebe with you to discuss the latest with the top college football transfer quarterback. He'll now be headed to the NFL Supplemental Draft. We'll talk about the timeline of things that have happened, why the Colts matter in all of this. We'll get your opinion on it and where Daniel Jones is left with everything happening. Welcome to Colts Talk. Let's get into it. We last talked about Brendan Sorsby here on Colts Talk when it looks like there was not going to be a Brendan Sorsby headed to the NFL Supplemental Draft. Talked about the Colts, his fit, why they'd be interested. But it just came down to the fact that it looked like Sorsby was going to return to college football after winning his injunction, after the NCAA was going to block him and there's suspensions floating around. Just looked like he was going to be able to return to play for Texas Tech in the upcoming season. We know he had a ban going for betting on Indiana when he was at Indiana. And then the pressure on Texas Tech, the pressure on Sorsby after this result, after it looked like he could return, it just seems like it got to be too much, which is why at this point in time it's being reported by ESPN's Pete Thamel. You saw there, he will enter the NFL Supplemental Draft. We got details on how that works, where the Colts stand. But who is this quarterback, right? If you don't know enough about Brendan Sorsby, the past 2 years specifically have been very, very good for, and I know we're going to mention Texas Tech a lot. He actually hasn't played for Texas Tech yet. He's been so good at Cincinnati, it's made him a top college football transfer portal quarterback in this past cycle. That's when he headed to Texas Tech. The gambling rumors and then eventually facts and all that came out. And now here we are at this point in time. So you can see the numbers pretty impressive over the past 2 years. A reason he was one of the top guys on that transfer portal list. But a lot has happened. A lot has changed. And now we need to break down the Sorsby situation more. First things first, straight up out of the gates. Should the Colts go get Brendan Sorsby? It will be in the NFL Supplemental Draft. A lot to break down there. What's your opinion on it? Type Y for yes, go get him. Type N for no, pass on Sorsby. Yeah, so outside the numbers, this is a big quarterback, 6'3", 225. The size shows up on the field, looks good on the field, and the traits are there. He's got the arm talent, he's got the mobility, and he has done pretty well over the past few years protecting the ball as well. And I know that can kind of be a big thing with younger quarterbacks too, so you like to see that. And we noted, he's mobile, so the idea of him protecting the ball while being a mobile quarterback, good in general for Sorsby and his strengths in general. Now, the supplemental draft, I know, is kind of a interesting red-headed stepchild, whatever you guys want to call it, in the NFL. It's like this awkward, other draft that doesn't happen every year, by the way. The deadline was going to be June 22nd, so it was coming up for Sorsby to decide. So he essentially had to risk like this lawsuit stuff could keep going, and then he gets no college football and no NFL without the supplemental draft. We'll get some workouts from Sorsby coming up, and then we will get the supplemental draft later in July. Here's the situation, people. I understand the gambling scandal. Very bad look, right, for Sorsby, for Texas Tech, obviously, right? It was coming down on them. It's a bad look for any team that he's been a part of. I don't think the NFL is going to care, especially that is the supplemental draft. They just know that's the deal, right? That's the kind of player you're getting. That's who you're interested in. And we'll go over a couple of famous names from the supplemental draft. But they will have serious interest in Brendan Sorsby. The Colts will, and other NFL teams will. I think there's a dozen, maybe more teams that will take a strong look. We'll be at these workouts. We'll call about Brendan Sorsby to his agent. We'll interview Brendan Sorsby. You will see a lot of interest in Brendan Sorsby for this supplemental draft. So it is not crazy to think that this gambling scandal won't matter to teams enough that to shy away from him in the supplemental draft. He absolutely will have interest in general. We'll talk about where the Colts stand in that situation in just a second. But first, today's show is presented by Prize Picks. That is America's #1 sports picks app. We talk about Prize Picks all the time, but the excitement around Prize Picks right now, really wanted to hit on what's happening because we talk about the lineups. You pick more or less on a few player stats and then lock in your lineup. We've talked baseball, basketball, football. We've gone into all those sports. But right now, the big one going on that a lot of people are making their lineups based on, the World Cup. That's right. We've got 6 names here and some of the biggest in soccer. It's Messi, Haaland, Mbappe, Yamal, Neymar, and Pulisic all on the list here. We went more on their goals Good example on the top 3 names. We got an injury reboot and 2 other names voided from their injury before this lineup is even done. Yes, that's how prize picks work. You're not out of the game just because somebody got hurt or an injury affected. You're more or less on their name. Then we've got the next 3 names on there to keep an eye on as well. We've shown a couple World Cup lineups here on Colts Talk. Other channels as well here on Chat Sports. If you like that, you want to copy easily for yourself on Prize Picks, the new social feeds feature. All you have to do is be sure you follow your favorite personalities on Chat Sports or follow your friends if they have great lineups as well. That includes me and producer AP. It's at Billy_Beebe for me, at CSAP for producer Aiden Priest, who has a lot of our lineups up as well. New user offer. If you guys download the Prize Picks app today with the link in the comment section and description, yeah, that's right, we set it up easy for you guys. The code to use, is HMA. You get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Top destinations for Brendan Sorsby from our Tom Downey. These are some destinations that he listed. You're going to see different odds and different teams and different places put all over. But we work hard at Chat Sports, and Tom does a great job keeping an eye on these teams and our NFL Draft channel as well. You can see it starts with the Jets, Buccaneers, Falcons as possibilities there. And I know all our channels here at Chat Sports do have an eye on those teams as well. The Jets always looking for a quarterback. Bucs having some contract issues with Baker. The Falcons have so many quarterbacks that they don't have any quarterback. Then the Colts and the Lions. That's right. We'll get into the Colts standing here in just a second. The Lions, Tom was kind of talking a little bit about the Lions really don't have a backup quarterback compared to most teams. And then also, what's the plan with Goff for the future? So the Colts definitely in the mix of interested teams. Now, the supplemental draft, I did want to roll through that a little more so Colts fans can understand how it works. This is from Dane Brugler of The Athletic. The draft order is divided into 3 groups: teams with 6 or fewer wins, the rest of the non-playoff teams, and then the 14 playoff teams after that. The order of each group is randomly selected. If a team is interested in drafting a prospect, they place a bid on that player in a certain round. If multiple teams submit bids on a player in the same round, the team picking first in the order is awarded that player. Once a team drafts a player in the supplemental draft, it must forfeit its pick in that round in the following draft. Now, here's an example. 2019, when the Cardinals selected defensive back Jalen Thompson with a 5th-round pick in the supplemental draft, they forfeited a 5th-round pick in the 2020 NFL draft. So essentially, the Colts, who would be in that non-playoff group, kind of be like the secondary group, they could bid a 5th-rounder. If everybody's less, they get him. If somebody's even, the team ahead of them would get him. They can bid a 5th, 4th, 3rd. We'll talk about value here in just a second. But I need to hear from you guys first before we get to more examples. What do you think Brendan Sorsby's draft value is? Would you give up a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, so on and so forth? Let me know. We want to see what you would wager to get Brendan Sorsby, no pun intended, in this situation. Let us know down below. Albert Breer, NFL insider, recently did note Sorsby's got the look of a pretty high-end prospect who would likely elicit some 2nd or 1st round bids. That's wild to me. Brendan Sorsby, I don't know if he is worth a 1st or 2nd round. A 1st or 2nd round pick for Brendan Sorsby feels like a bit much for the Colts to go out there and spend on a quarterback. Again, you're going to need more scouting. This is a whirlwind situation where you weren't really looking at getting a quarterback. Now you may get that chance. It's a crazy situation. And again, the Colts don't have a 1st, obviously. So technically, yes, that is too much. And then a 2nd in this scenario, then you're out of the first 2 rounds to get Brendan Sorsby at this point in time. But it's going to be supply and demand. So, you look at what the other teams are willing to give. You look at the other bids. Then maybe you change your perspective, right? Again, you don't have a 1st rounder. So you look, if other teams are going with a 3rd, a 4th, a 5th, maybe match. If they're all at the 2nd and you're not comfortable going with the 2nd rounder, fine, move on. Could end up being a bidding war. Really could. I'll give this, you'll give that. We need a quarterback more than you. Again, the non-playoff teams versus the playoff teams versus the teams with 6 wins or less with no wins. A lot going on there. And this may sound crazy to you, right? Who's giving up first-round pick for supplemental draft players? Well, history has shown there's plenty of very talented players in the supplemental draft, and there's plenty of teams that were willing to give up a lot to get these players. Cleveland involved a lot. The Brennan Kozar thing, that was a while ago, so I know that was a different animal. Josh Gordon, they gave up a second-rounder. Chris Carter, Brian Bosworth, Terrell Pryor, the tattoo scandal, right, ends up giving a third for him. The Boz, a first-rounder there. So teams, when this situation takes place, when this situation happens, teams are not shy to give up major picks to get a player, and that just means they believe in them. And I think that's where it comes down to. That's what it comes down to for the Colts with Brendan Sorsby. Now, we will let you guys know, this Sorsby stuff, it's just getting started here. We're going to have more to talk about. We're going to see how real it is for the Colts to get involved here. That's why you guys want to hit that sub button, because we will have all the latest here on Colts Talk. But we have a quarterback, don't we, here on the Indianapolis Colts? Yeah, we're talking about giving up another high draft pick for a quarterback when, we're talking every day about Daniel Jones and his injury and getting better. Look, if the Colts get involved with Sorsby, make a bid, try to get him, and I'm sure we'll hear if they did or didn't, or if they're at scouting events for him and so on and so forth. It's on the idea that Daniel Jones is not the quarterback of the future for the Indianapolis Colts. And you may say to yourself, well, they just gave him a contract. No, they gave him a 2-year contract. I don't know that screams quarterback of the future for me in general with Daniel Jones. It seals him up for this year, seals him up for next year. Yes, you are still recovering from a major injury. Your taste of Daniel Jones as your quarterback is 13 games at this point in time. And I have talked about many times on the show here, if you've got 7 or 8 Daniel Jones professional seasons, you've got 2 out of 8 good professional seasons from Daniel Jones in general. I don't think we know if Daniel Jones technically is a good NFL quarterback, or if you had to guess, statistically, he is more often bad than he is good. I don't want to kill the vibes for the Colts coming up. I'm just noting this as their thought process for this year and next year, and they're paying him a lot. It's $50 million guaranteed this year, and then a little bit less next year. But again, it's a 2-year contract for a reason with Daniel Jones. He is not your quarterback for the next 5 years, 6 years. Maybe he gets that contract after his 2-year deal, but that's what he has, a 2-year deal in general. I don't think he's the quarterback of the future, but once again, that doesn't mean a slight at Daniel Jones where he stands right now with Indianapolis. Back to Sorsby. If the Colts really try to make this happen, if they go to the scouting events, if they put in a bid, if they're making calls, if they're very serious and public about possibly getting Brendan Sorsby, that tells me they love Brendan Sorsby, because again, we read through all the supplemental stuff. We've talked about Daniel Jones. They would have to go through a lot just to get Sorsby and probably make him the backup quarterback for the next 2 years, year and a half, however you guys want to think of Sorsby in general. This thing is just getting started.